Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, March 15th. Theme of the day right in front of you, impressive close. I'm not really sure what that was all about. There wasn't even really a big MOC imbalance or anything that I saw anyway, or at least that Bloomberg reported. But really big kind of move into the close. Nasdaq stocks finished up 1% for the day. The S&P finished up 60 basis points for the day. Bonds had a little bit of a bounce too, which I think contributed to that Nasdaq move today. So a little bit of a bounce in bonds and gives a further relief move in Nasdaq stocks, growth stocks. I thought anyway. The VIX, really interesting. The VIX is closed right at 20, so not quite below 20. I think I tweeted it out earlier that the VIX was right into the close around like a 19 handle, but right at 20. But so we did finish down 3%, 8% from where the open was. So all in all, I think to see the VIX get below 20, I think should be a decent sign for the market. So. Of course, we'll take things one day at a time, but we're moving in the right direction. We still have some events going on this week, right? We've got the FOMC. I'll get to that in a second, and we have quadruple witching later in the week too, which that basically for the index rebalances and so forth, those do get positioned ahead of time, and then they're actually taking off their positioning as we get to the close on Friday. And then of course monthly option expiration too is one of the witches there for quad witching. But let's go over the performance, and we'll talk about where there was some decent trading opportunities I thought today. But the home builders, this was I went over some charts pre-market because I just saw what was going on in bonds. I'm like, hey, there's a lot of there just seemed like to be that there was a decent amount of setups, right? So if we look at the ITB, or if you want to look at a couple different names in this space, I kind of start with DHI. Remember, this group was super strong about a week ago, and then just kind of came into the top of value. And DHI was up 3.7%. Toll Brothers, which I like this chart too, didn't really do too much today, but held into their top of value and then moved. So that was one of the strongest groups. I'm just touching upon that. Also, the pot stocks were strong today. There's Cuomo was speaking about the possibility of New York approving marijuana stock, or not marijuana stocks, but marijuana in general, which is kind of going to give a lift to that. And I don't think anything related, but I just thought it was kind of funny. If you look at some of the restaurant stocks, which we saw them tick up last week, I think if you listen to my video on Friday, I talked about Cheesecake Factory. But if you look at a bunch of these, right, Brinker was up 2%. So these were a couple that were already showing some signs last week. Where the real big move happens in a couple of these was McDonald's, which I held. I've been holding a small position of McDonald's for probably a good few number of weeks, and I saw the strength today, and I said, hey, this thing's finally getting out of the range. Very coiled. And I bought some McDonald's. I added to my position, which was cheaper than I had originally bought. So April 220s. And this thing marked 550 at the end of the day. So I have one more target to go, but I did not take that I could have sold at 550, but I figured now you take 3 targets in a trade. Very happy to see the the balance. See if you can get a really nice winner, right? That's the name of trading, is to try to let your winners run. And the last portion of a trade for me is usually what I try for that. Also, Yum Brands. I actually saw this name, when I was doing my scans over the weekend. But Yum Brands up 3%, and this is just the first day of a move. Now the volume wasn't quite as strong as what we saw at McDonald's. Really like that big green bar there. Both price action as well as the volume confirming the breakout. So still holding on to that, and I did add some Yum which I was debating on doing earlier in the day, but up 3%. It's just the first day out of the coil. So so typically when these things are coiled like this, there could be a very nice move coming, and that's what I'm hoping for in Yum Brands. And I did add, here's my trade entry in this one. I took a target at right at the end of the day, but I would love it if this thing gets going for like another day or two. Because I added enough for it to work pretty well. But yeah, I mean, so once again, we're finding the strength, in this market. Starbucks, which was on our weekend watch list too, was up 1% for the day, but I think Starbucks can continue to go. And then, of course, what we kind of found at the end of the week, which we were talking about, was the travel stocks again. A lot of the airlines, and sure enough, like UAL was a name that we saw call buying late on Friday, and this was up 8%. I only chose one on Friday, which was ALK, and this did fine, right? So Alaska Air was up 5.8%, but I also like the look of Hawaiian Air, right, coming out of this digestion. If we look at, so that's how I played it. I also think the cruise lines look fairly decent too. CCL was up 4.6%, looking a little bit better than Norwegian Cruise Line, but really strong. The travel group and the other thing that I saw too this weekend when I was going through the sector charts was consumer discretionary. I thought consumer discretionary looked a little bit stronger, right? So that's the XLY ETF, a little bit stronger than tech. Remember, consumer discretionary and tech are your two biggest sectors in the S&P. And when I was going through chart by chart, which now XOK looks pretty good too, back above the 50-day moving average. Nice to see that. Apple made a nice move today. There was a lot of call action in Apple, but for the overall group, right, back inside value. And again, like I said, consumer discretionary looks even better. Right, back above all short-term moving averages, making its way, through value. So again, it's nice to see those bigger sectors, kind of come up and contribute. The Qs, by the way, very close to getting inside value in the 50-day moving average. But again, there's plenty of things. Shack is another name from our weekend watch list, it's up 6.5%. So our weekly watch list off to a really good start, and I'll show those names. I'll show those names tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, I thought that part of this stimulus trade, people spending, but overall the charts just looked that way, going into in the week. Going into the weekend, excuse me. RVLV was another name that I traded this morning, up big, 13%. So had caught a nice winner in that one today. Here's my trades for the day. Here was RVLV. I did not hang on to that one. I got out of that one. The gains came very quick for me. So some of these names I don't really, I would rather be a little bit slimmer going into the Fed meeting on Wednesday, right, and have some dry powder available for that in case there's some positioning going on. It doesn't even have to be. I went over this obviously in the weekend video for members, but it doesn't even have to be that Powell says anything different. You have to remember that the institutions really control the market. So if they decide to sell a little bit before the meeting just to play conservative, then we might see a little bit of a pushback, and that's why I want to have a little bit of cash, available. So that's couple trades. Also, I forgot to mention the other theme of the day, which was like the discount stores. So your Macy's, right? Big move here. So again, another reopening type trade, another stimulus type trade. It's nice when you have a couple catalysts, right? The country reopening, number one, and number two, stimulus. People are probably going to spend some money here and there on some of these things. So this was strong. Ross Stores was also strong. Dick's Sporting Goods, which I think also you have a couple catalysts here, right? Reopening trade and youth sports. Sorry, I was going to make a joke. Utes. Like from my cousin Vinny. But youth sports should be reopening too. So that should be a catalyst for this. So I actually went long some Dick's Sporting Goods. But overall, TJX I think looks pretty good here too, back above the 50-day moving average. A lot of things going on in this sector. Open made a nice move today too. That name up 6.5%. So again, just a lot of good things and a lot of names on our watch list really clicking early. Twitter was a name that I went long towards the end of last week. Got another target in that. I have to say the chart looks pretty darn good in that one too. So it's tough being a little bit conservative here because we do have a Fed meeting, seeing so many good looking setups, but I think that's just the way to play it. And, as I mentioned with that McDonald's trade, holding the last piece of that, holding about a third left of my Twitter position, after taking a couple targets. And, same thing with a lot of these trades that I put on, holding about a third of the trade left. Square worked very well too, up to 251, which was my second target for the day. But nice to see this actually get inside value and start to really retracing a lot of the move from last week. So, I'll keep this video short for today, but again, we're really, I think, doing a great job. I'm giving myself a pat on the back here, but we're just finding those themes, like the retail stores, right? Like the mall type stores doing very well. The travel stocks doing well. The casual dining restaurants doing well. So we had some really nice trades today, and I mean, I'm not even in a lot of tech, but if that starts to move up a bit too, I think that's a good sign too, and can easily kind of pivot over to some of those names. But I'll do that once I really see some good momentum. I think this DT looks interesting. Some other names I think just kind of took the day off. This apps. Digital Turbine, which showed some strength towards the end of last week, still has to get through 89.51. Blockchain stocks did pretty well, closed right at the top of value. This SI was the leader within that group, up 16%. Very, very nice in Silvergate Capital. All right, guys, so that's it for today's video. Really, a lot of trades that you could see that I've got. As always, I always show the blotter of what I'm doing for the day, but really solid trading today. So I'll take it, and we'll move on and we'll push over to tomorrow, and then Wednesday we have the Fed meeting. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.